Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. Come on in and kick off your shoes, take a seat on the mat. And this is part of our Do It Now series for April. But before we dive into that, I just want to let you know we have started a Marco Polo fitness group. So if you guys don't know what Marco Polo is, it's a video messaging app. Think of Snapchat before adults. And we've got about 8 guys that are from all over the United States who are in this, and we're just holding each other accountable, sharing tips and insights and just, getting in shape for the season. And, there's always that argument of, well, you don't have to be in great shape to hunt deer. And that's probably true to some, aspect. But if you're out there hunting public land and you're scouting and you're putting in the work, being in shape is a big benefit. And it brings way more quality to your life than just hunting also. So part of the dojo is this focus on a holistic approach to development of who we are, and not just hunting, but mentally, spiritually, physically. It's all those things. As we focus on all those things, it makes us more successful as a hunter. So if you want to be a part of that group, just shoot me a DM, find me on Instagram or Facebook, and shoot me a DM, and I will add you to that group. It's pretty awesome. It helped today, man. I didn't feel like working out, and I knew that I had to report to the group and talk to them, and I didn't want to let them down. So I got after it twice today. So super pumped for that group. If you want to join it, like I said, Mobile Hunters Dojo or the Mobile Hunters Dojo on Instagram. You can look me up, Matt Lear, on Facebook. Shoot me a DM, and I will add you to that group. So jumping into this month's Do This Now. So I want to remind us why we're doing this series. Um, so this series is really meant for individuals who are either looking for that first mountable buck to put on the wall, or they're looking to gain consistency and killing their target, you know, type of animal. And so what we're doing is we're taking steps every single month to help set us up for success when the season gets here. And that is what we do. Like, if you talk to killers out there, if you talk to people who are consistently getting it done, it's Whitetails 365. And there are levels of that. I was telling my wife today, you know, I don't put myself in any kind of elite category or anything like that. I mean, I'm the white belt sensei. I'm learning every day from a lot of the people that I have on the podcast, and in fact, everybody I've had on the podcast. And I wouldn't say that I'm a, super successful, hunter. But I do have a level of success, and I do find it on public land, and I know how much work I put in to make that happen and to have consistency. And then I think of the guys who are elite, these guys who, are just relentlessly out there getting it done on a high level, killing, high quality mature bucks on public land. And it's even more than what I'm doing. And so there are levels to this game. And what we're talking about right now, I think, is the bare minimal. I think, the bare minimal um, is doing what we're doing every month. There's so much more you can do, but we need a balanced life. We all have priorities, and we're in different stages in our life. So what we're doing right now, I think anybody can do. I think you can find the time if you want to get that first buck on the wall, or if you want to find consistency, you can find the time. It's just going to take a little bit of sacrifice. You're going to have to decide what you're going to cut out. Now, if you want to go to the next level, it's even more sacrifice. You have to figure out what you're going to let go of, um, you know, and so you can move up to the next level, the next belt level. For example, right now it is turkey season. I used to hunt coyotes. I used to hunt turkey. I used to do all of that stuff. I don't do any of that now. It's Whitetails 365 for me, because that's the level of commitment that I've set for myself. I'm not saying you can't go turkey hunt, but if you're going to go and move up, the levels here, you really have got to, pour yourself all into it so you can refine your craft. And I know there's a lot of big buck killers out there that turkey hunt that love it and they're fantastic at it. I'm not there yet, so I can't focus on the turkey. So, my goal is to get up to where they're at, and I need to focus on this until I get there, and then maybe one day I can turkey hunt again. So, anyways, the point is that there are levels to this. There's different levels of commitment. What we're asking, what we're doing right now, is the bare minimal. But I think if you do this, you are going to set yourself up for success come hunting season. Now, if it's the first time you've ever listened to the Do It Now series, I'm gonna give you a quick recap. Don't worry. You can go in and listen to those episodes and do it now. It's just gonna be harder work. You have to do more, but it's not too late. All right. So uh, in the first episode, we set goals, and we set goals that we want to accomplish. These are attainable goals or measurable goals. They're timely goals. And we set those to identify what we want to accomplish this year. And we're going to go back and look at those goals and review those goals. You should be doing that monthly. That's not a one-time write down the goals and then move on. You need to keep looking at those, put those in front of you, make a vision board. I mean, listen, I'm going this extreme on some of my goals. So right now, like I talked about in the beginning of this podcast, is we started this group, we're getting back in shape. I got out of shape. I got lazy. I used an injury as an excuse not to weight lift, and I gained 20 pounds, and I need to get back there. So what did I do? Well, I'm actually making a poster of a picture of me from 2 years ago when I was at the top, of my game, when I was in the best shape of my life, and it's going on the wall over here. So every day when I come down here, because this is also my gym, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to see what I used to look like, and I'm going to picture it in my head and drive for that success. So looking at your goals does that. It's that picture in your head. It reminds you, you know, why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. So go back, review those goals. If you haven't made them yet, go make them. It's not too late. All right. The next episode, we talked about going out and scouting. And what were we scouting for? Well, we were looking for bedding areas, and we were looking for scrapes outside of those bedding areas. And we were looking for, rub lines outside of those bedding areas, because our strategy, if you are going for your first buck on the wall, or you're looking for a little bit more consistency, you got to get a few more, good bucks, 100-inch, 120-inch bucks underneath your belt, is we are going to save those spots. We're going to stay way out of there. We're not going to hunt anywhere near those spots. And we're going to save those spots for the last week of October and, pretty much throughout November. Okay. And so you can still do that. It's not too late. In fact, I'm behind the eight ball. Uh, um, by this time last year, I had well over 100 miles in scouting. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's what I had. And I'm far behind that right now. And I've already gone out of state to, the areas that I wanted to hunt, like I think 2 or 3 times now. And I'm just not satisfied. So I'm going away this weekend. I'm going to go on a 3-day scouting trip, and I'm going to hammer it out until I really find my areas and feel confident for this hunting season. So, yes, green up is happening. Yes, there's turkey hunters. Yes, there's things going on out there that are going to make it more difficult, but it's not too late. In fact, last year I scouted, throughout the whole entire year. Every single weekend I was in the woods because I was learning a new piece. And yeah, it was kind of miserable. Yeah, there were bugs. Yeah, there were spiders, all that kind of stuff. But I did what I had to do because I was going to hunt a new piece. And so it's not too late to go out there and scout. Go back to episode 2 of the Do It Now series, and we talk about what to look for, how to scout a new area, and how to prioritize certain areas. So go back and look at that. So now here we are. Now we're into April, and what we need to do is focus on gear. And I'm going to get on a soapbox here for a second. Stay with me. So if you've listened to the podcast, you've probably heard me a couple times warn people about looking and focusing on gear too much. And the reason why I feel that way is because I think for the first 10 years of my career, I was held back and unsuccessful because I was, mainly focused on gear. And so, why is that? Well, the hunting industry has really turned hunting into this consumeristic activity. It isn't how it should be. I'm just going to say it. We we as hunters should not be as focused on gear as we are. It's funny as I say that, I look all around me and I've got like all this gear and I've got, the Matthews hat on and stuff like that. So, you know, is there something wrong with gear or no, I'm not saying that. But I'll tell you what, this isn't my top priority. The gear is not my top priority. Um, but I see and I have made gear the top priority, and it took it away from really learning deer, really learning how to hunt. I felt that if I got the right bow, if I, got the magical spray or the suit that stopped my scent and all of those things, that was what was going to give me the edge to kill good deer. And guess what? It didn't. And I'll make a strong opinion on that stuff, and people may agree or disagree with me, but I've talked to enough killers to know that the gear does not make or break your hunt. Well, let me take that back. There are some aspects of gear, and we'll get into that, I think are very important to help make your hunt. But it's probably not the gear that a lot of guys look into. But, one thing that I have been guilty of, and this is my confession, is you know, tying my identity to companies, to gear. And, I mean, you could probably go back in my posts, probably don't have to go back that far. And you'll see posts that are all gear focused and hashtagged towards a product. And I see that all over the place. But if you look at other passions people have, they're not doing that, right? So, all the guys who are passionate about softball that go down to the local softball field and play in these tournaments. And I mean, if you know someone in a softball league, they are obsessed with softball. But yet when they're posting their softball pictures and stuff like that, they're not hashtagging Louisville Slugger and, Nike and all that kind of stuff. You may see some like top athletes doing that because they're getting paid for it. And what the hunting industry did was it was masterful. They got us to believe that if we tied our identity to their product, it meant that we were successful. And so what did they get out of that? Man, a ton of free advertising. A ton of it. Now, do I think that there's some products out there that are fantastic and are worth mentioning? You bet. You bet. But here is how you know if you've tied your identity to a product or not. Okay. If somebody says something negative about that product, they used it, they didn't like it, and you get offended and you want to go hit the keyboard and light them up, you got a problem. You've attached your identity to that product. Let that product fight that fight. Let that company deal with that. Why are we doing the work for these companies? And the reason why is we've confused what hunting really is. It's not about the products. So, yeah, I'm on my soapbox here. I'm talking about why am I talking about it? Well, it's because I care. Because I know for 10 years I got wrapped up in that crap and I couldn't get it done because I was focusing on the wrong things. I don't want to see you guys do that. All right. Again, I think there's some amazing products out there that I'll probably talk about it during this podcast. In fact, I know we will. But it's because the products work. But I tell you what, no company bats 1,000. So it doesn't matter what you see behind me or on my head. There's things that, I don't like about some of their products. And if you can say that, then you're in a good spot. So hold the allegiance to a manufacturer loosely. Um, but yeah, I'll move on from that. I'm not trying to bash companies here. I'm trying to break this identity connection to these companies. And yes, I wear all hunting gear that's logoed out. Like, or not even gear, but I'm talking like regular clothes. Um, but these are things that I believe in, that I personally like. And my identity is not tied to it though. It just really isn't. So, okay, let's get into it. I'm sure I will get some feedback on that, and that's fine. But I'm saying it from a place of wanting you to really, put your time and efforts into things that matter. And two gear focus is going to mess you up. But here's the dichotomy of that. If you don't have enough gear focus, it's going to mess you up too. And that's what this episode is all about. So we're going to work on our gear now. We're going to make sure that it's in tip-top shape, that everything's perfect, so that we can practice with our gear from now until season. Because I think what a lot of guys overlook or underestimate is the fiddle factor, the noise making, or the not being familiar with your setup and what that might do. If you're going in and your stand's creaking or you're making noise or you don't know how to set that stand up, without making a sound, then you could be blowing opportunities. All right. So we're going to do the work now on our gear. We're going to examine everything. We're going to make sure that it all works perfectly, that it's quiet, so that when season comes, we're ready and we understand and know our gear inside and out. So the first thing I want you to do right now, I want you to take your bow. And if you're not a bow tech, I want you to take it to an amazing bow tech. I want you to take it there now in April. And I want you to bring the arrows that you're going to shoot. And I want you to have them make sure that your bow is in time and that it's tuned perfectly, that it's flying perfectly, that it's paper tuned perfectly. And you're going to do that now because they're going to have time to do it now. And actually, the service you're going to get is going to be better than what it is, a month from now or a month from season. Because that's when everybody else does it. Because they haven't picked up their bow all year. And they're picking it up now and they're running in there to make sure everything gets done. So if you need anything for that bow right now, you're going to do it now. You're going to make sure you got all the arrows that you're going to use, because you're going to shoot those arrows from as soon as you get that bow back and it's in tune. The next step, what we're going to talk about in the next coming months, is we're shooting our bows every single day. I don't care if it's 1 or 3 arrows or 10 arrows. We're going to shoot it every single day so we can focus on our form and so it becomes muscle memory. Okay. So send your bow in, get it done now. Make sure that the person knows what they're doing, and make sure that bow is in time, tuned, and shooting perfectly. Now, the next thing we're going to do is then we're going to go through our gear. Now, in the future, what we're going to do is we're going to have a note on our phone. So when we're out in the field, when something just isn't working the way we want it to work, we're going to write that note down. For example, I have a backpack that I just love. And that backpack has these little plastic ends on the zippers. And when I'm wearing my release, sometimes it like hits it and it makes like a tinging noise. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap all of those plastic ends with hockey tape. I'm going to make sure it's quiet. So I remembered that and I put that in my notes last year, right? So what we have to do now though is you have to try to drum up that memory. Think through your season last year, and what were some things that gave you some problems? Did your stand squeak a little bit? Um, did you know did your sticks, have any kind of noise? Did they need to be silenced? Um, what were those things that were causing some issues for you? And you're going to go back and you're going to fix those issues. So I've got a video from Mike Athey. If you remember Mike, he was on here and he was talking about making micro adjustments. And what stood out to me about what Mike was doing, or actually about Mike, is his setups were just dialed in. They're quiet. He's got those things working perfectly for him. So if you're listening to this, you're going to hear Mike work through some uh, examples of how to quiet your stand and the steps he goes through to make sure that the stand is working perfectly for him and not causing any noises. You may want to go to our YouTube page, the Mobile Hunters Dojo YouTube page, and watch what he's doing, because it's hard to explain those things just over, when you're just listening to it. But here's Mike talking about what he does with his stand.
All right, when it comes to taping your stand, you got some options. This is Howie's Camo Hockey Tape, Renfrew. I don't even know who this company is, but this is black. Just pick your personal preference on color. Lone Wolf Custom Gear Slayer Tape. This stuff's really nice. It's water resistant, very durable, sticky. Stealth Strip's another good option, but what we're looking to do is anywhere where we might have metal on metal contact. So down here where these double steps are coming together, I threw a little tape. Don't overlook your cam buckles, okay? This is a little cam buckle for an accessory strap. Make sure we're taping that up in case we lose track of that strap going around the tree or whatever. If it comes back and hits the stand, it's not going to make that ping sound. I also like putting tape wherever my cam straps are touching metal. So that's going to help with the longevity of these cam straps or your ropes, and help with the keeping the integrity of those straps for safety reasons. Your bow holders, hardware that's going to hit the stand. It seems minor, but on a cold, clear day when that sound's traveling, that sound's going to resonate through the timber. I also like using tape to tie up my tag ends of my backpack straps and on my backpacks. If you have an excess tag end, go ahead and cut and burn the edge to prevent fraying and then tape those up. So you want to keep that nice clean profile. The more organized you are with your straps and your equipment, the more efficient you're going to be. Take care of your gear and it'll take care of you. Don't overlook the little details. So this seat cushion usually comes with Velcro strapping. I found that it wears out pretty quickly and it also makes a lot of noise, so I replaced it with these rubber zip ties. These things last forever, and if one does break, I have 50 more of them I can replace within seconds and get back in the timber. Climbing equipment. This is a Kong Ascender. You have your Ropeman 1s, and then you have your beaners. Tape those up. If you make a mistake and the beaners or your Ascender hits your stand, platform, sticks, that's going to be metal on metal contact, so try and limit that as much as possible. Just throw a little tape on there and you're good to go. Utilize your mobile setup to transport your gear. So if I have a down jacket, a vest, I have these Lone Wolf Custom Gear accessory straps on the bottom of my seat. That's what I'm going to use to transport my extra clothing. I can cinch these down and that clothing's locked in on a piece of equipment that I'm already taking into the timber with me. Maybe your clothing system's fine and how you carry in your extra layers doesn't bother you, but maybe you want to bring in a trim saw, a couple screw-ins on private land, a headlamp. Go ahead and attach one of these MOLLE pouches to the bottom of the seat. Whatever gear that you want to bring in and have handy with you, go ahead and zip tie one of these pouches to the bottom of the seat. Try and utilize all this extra space to carry in the gear you might need and keep it at hand's reach.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of like the level of detail that we're talking about. So you're going in and you're doing this with every piece of gear that you have. And you're making sure that it's works exactly the way it should, that it's silent, there's no squeaks, there's nothing going on there. But the other thing I want you to do as well is look for, safety issues. How long you been using that stand? Do the bolts need to be replaced, or do you need to add some silicone? Do you need to change some washers out? Because it doesn't matter what stand you buy. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on a stand or a platform. It needs maintenance done on them, especially if you're hunting hard and you're out, getting them wet and it's getting snowed on and all that kind of stuff. These things require maintenance. Same thing with your saddles. Let me if you're watching on YouTube, I go through my saddle and I'm checking the bridge. I'm going to make sure that it's not frayed. Sometimes just little things, like you get a little bit of frays on here, and I like to take a lighter and just kind of burn those off, just so it's nice and clean, so it doesn't nothing hangs up on it. I'm checking, on the Latitude here. They've got a rope belt, which, by the way, if we're going to talk about products and good quality products, this is what I use. People ask me all the time. I use a Method 2 from Latitude. I think it's the best saddle out there, for a lot of reasons. I won't go into it. You can go to their website and check it out. But just going through and making sure that everything looks good, that everything's sewed up nice and tight. And I've never really had an issue at all with the saddle. I've run it for a couple years now, and no issues there. But here's another example. So making sure that our gear works the way we want it to on the saddle. What I use is I tie a little loop on the side of one of my mollies, and I use this to put my sticks in as I climb up. And last year I lost a loop, and that's on my notes, so I've got to add that. I'm going through and I'm checking for safety, and I'm micro tuning all of my gear so it works the way that I need it to do. And I want to tell you something. There's things that you can buy to do this for you. And they're good products out there. I have nothing really negative to say about some of those 3D printed stuff, but a lot of it you can make yourself for pretty cheap, and honestly it's quieter. Like those sticks, what I use for climbing the tree in my saddles, and also my safety harness, is I just tie these loops on with, this kind of like a camel colored string that I got at Lowe's, and it holds my sticks just fine, and they don't cling. I don't have to worry about plastic hitting my release. They fold right down as soon as I get a stick out of there. I'm looking for, really keeping it as simple as I possibly can. If I don't have to buy something for it, I'm not going to buy something for it, because if I buy something, it's probably means, it has potential of making noise or something like that. It's amazing if you take a real simple approach to modifying your gear, how easy it is to do that, and how simple it keeps things, and how quiet things can be. So, anyways, so we're walking through all of that: sticks, our saddles, our platforms, and our stands. And so why are we doing that? Well, one, if you don't take time to do it now, we're not going to be ready when the season comes. You're going to start rushing at the end, and you're not going to get all of those imperfections out. The other thing, like I said earlier, is we will start practicing. So as you go through this gear, what I want you to do next is I want you to start setting this stuff up and taking it down. I want you to try doing it in the dark, after you've gotten used to it. And we're doing it as quiet as we possibly can. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to think of the things that we have in our bags when we go out to the woods that we actually don't need. And we're going to take them out. And so how do we know if you need them? Well, if you haven't really pulled it out for for a specific reason, last year, take it out. We carry way too much stuff out. And you will find that as you start to, take some of this stuff out, one, just makes carrying stuff out there easier. Two, you can go with a lot smaller pack. All right, here's a plug for a product. The pack I use is a SOG backpack. It's $30 on Amazon. It holds up to just about anything. I put these backpacks through hell, and I've never had one fail on me. The good part is the $30. If you buy a good backpack, it's going to be anywhere from $250 to $300. I can buy a new backpack every single year, and it meets all of my needs. I did a little bit of modification stuff. Maybe one day I'll go through that, but it's a great little backpack. Um, but I don't have to carry a bunch of stuff. I don't need a huge backpack, and I've got room for my clothes in there because I don't have it shoved in with a million other things. So you really got to like, what did you use? And what did you not use, and get rid of the stuff that you did not use. One thing that I'll just tell you that I'm struggling with, because this is hard. It really is, because you think when I don't bring it with me is when I'll need it. And I've had that happen to me a few times. But I tell you what, I carry that thing way more than I ever would use it. And when I didn't have it, I wanted it in a certain situation, but it didn't make or break me. And for me, that one thing is binos. Like, I've been conditioned to wear the bino harness out. And I mean, just for me, I just don't use binos that much. Very rare do I actually pull them out. Now, I got a good friend who uses them so much that when we went hunting last year in Indiana, they broke on him. Like, they just fell apart, and he had to run and go get some new ones. And he's constantly glassing everything through his vinyl. So that's something he uses. I just don't, and it ends up just being in the way. And so, my goal this year is probably not to get rid of all the like vinyls completely, but I want to get rid of the harness and just move down to a small, really like pocket size set of binoculars that I can use just in case. So that's what you need to do. You need to work through it and get rid of things that you don't need. The next thing we're going to do right now when it comes to gear is we are going to think about, what do we really need? Um, you know, when you were out there, did you realize, man, I really need this thing? Or maybe it's something that you need to replace. So, for example, for me, I have just not found a pull-up rope that I love yet, and I haven't put the attention to it. What I remember every year is that, oh crap, season's starting. I got my old pull-up rope. I don't like it, but I'm going to use it. So this year, went in my notes. I'm investigating new pull-up ropes, and I'm trying out new pull-up ropes until I get the one. And I know that sounds silly. You're thinking, okay, pull-up rope, Matt. It makes a difference. I'm telling you, these details make a difference. The quicker you can get in your stand, quiet, without making a sound, and the more you don't have to think about your gear, uh, the more focused you're going to be on killing the deer. And that's what's important. And so you need to think about, what do you need? What did you not have last year that you absolutely know now you need? Go get it. Start using it, start practicing it. And then, well, so we've gone through all of our gear. We've made sure it's safe. We're making sure it's quiet. We've taken the necessary steps to do that. So, stands, backpacks, everything you have, you're going to make sure it's quiet. We know it's safe now. We've gotten rid of the things we don't need. We've gotten the things we do need. Our bow went to the bow tech. It's shooting perfect, and it's back. So now what I want you to do is I want you to set this all up in your pack like you're hunting. And I want you to practice putting that in and out. I want you to practice using all your gear. I mean, honestly, until you become extremely proficient with it, a couple times a week. Come home from work, grab your gear, and if you have it all packed up nice and neat, and you've got all your stuff working the way it should be, it shouldn't take you long. Take 20 minutes out of your day, go outside and set it up in the tree. I don't have a tree in my house. Well, go find a tree somewhere. Don't make excuses. Go get it done, and do it a couple times, a week, until you get super proficient with it. And what you're going to find out is, the way you pack your pack isn't ideal. And you're going to figure out a way to put those items in your pack so that when you pull them out, you're pulling them out once, and you're not digging through your pack looking for all your stuff, making all this type of noise. You want to go in, and the first thing you need is right there. And the next thing in line is the second thing you need, and it's right there. And everything has a home, and it always goes to the same spot. And if that means like you're putting coats and stuff in your bag, practice it like that. Because I tell you what, if you practice without what you think you're going to use in the fall, when you add it, it's going to mess up everything. And we're looking to get proficient. And so, do you need to do all this to kill your first buck? I don't know, maybe not. But do you want to kill bucks on a consistent basis and get better and better? The first mountable buck, it's just the thing that breaks the ice. You're not going to be satisfied. All right. If you're listening to this podcast, you are someone who desires development, desires continuous improvement. And I'll tell you what, you won't be satisfied on that first buck. You're going to want more. So you might as well put in the work now, because this is going to become, a journey for you. I know it already has been. If you're listening to this, you've probably been hunting for, at minimum a few years and probably a lot of years. So do this work now, go overboard, do more than what's, required, and you're going to get more success. So we're doing all this prep, so we don't have to think about it come season. And so that we have all this time to focus on getting proficient, becoming masters. If we are white belts or yellow belts or blue belts everywhere else right now with our hunting, the goal this summer is to become a black belt with your gear. All right. You want to be completely proficient with this stuff. It's that important. And this is what killers are thinking about. When they think about gear, they're thinking about, does it do what I need it to do so I don't have to think about it? Does it not interfere with me killing an animal? And so that's what we're going to do. Right now, we're going to get on it. Now, earlier I said there is one area of gear that I think does deserve some focus, and I want you to start thinking about it. It's not something you need to get right now. This may take time, okay? And that is your hunting clothes. I say clothes because personally I use a mix of camo, not camo. I could go with no camo. But what I'm focused on is, does my clothes allow me to stay out in just about any condition? Does it keep me warm? Does it keep me dry? Is it quiet? Am I comfortable in it? Does it not get in the way? Is it not, bulky and causing problems that way? So I do believe that in that area you can spend, a good amount of money. I think it's important to do your research and find out what you really need and what you don't need. I do think there's other ways to also get some of those benefits without paying like super high dollar. But man, there are clothes out there that, you can get at a bargain price that look like they're going to do what they're supposed to do, and they just don't. From what I found is the higher end gear, and by the way, look, I have no sponsors. I hope that I can actually do this, and this cost me money. Um, but I hope I can do this without ever getting sponsors, because I want to be able to speak freely and honestly with you. And I want you guys to be able to trust my opinion. And it is just my opinion. But so, I use First Light. Not everything that I have is First Light, but there are some pieces in the First Light lineup that I think are just phenomenal and do exactly what I said. They keep me warm. They keep it quiet, and I don't have to think about it. It keeps me dry. Osseo gear is also another really good quality gear. I've had the opportunity to go to the shows and work with Osseo at one of the shows, and I really got to learn their gear. And now I have their gear because I do believe in it that much. And it's phenomenal. Kuiu, I also wear some Kuiu stuff. And I also wear like some, there's some really cool stuff out there that is on the cheaper end. Wrangler makes some amazing pants out there. And they've got this fleece line pant that I wear out in the field on a regular basis. And it's really good, especially in that early fall time. But again, and then like your shoes too, really important. Can you stay in your boots? Will they keep you dry? Will they keep you, on stand without your feet hurting? Because, it takes long hours out there. And I'll tell you what, like you can be the toughest guy in the world, and push through it. Try pushing through it day after day on a 10-day grind from dark to dark during the rut. It's going to wear you down. It's going to wear your spirits down. This is where I think you can put your money and it will give you a good return. If you're shooting a bow that's made in the last 8 years, even if it's one of those like, bundle bows from Cabela's, it's a good bow. Those bows shoot better than the old bows from the 90s, and those guys were slaying giants. These bows are already better. Those combo bows are better than the flagship bows of that time period. So if you're thinking, I got this, but man, I really want a flagship, I really want a Matthews, but you don't have camouflage that meets the requirements that I said, skip buying the bow this year and get you some really good clothes that are going to keep you out in the field. All right. So I said a lot there. If you need to go back and listen to it again, do that because this is that important. It's not super sexy. It's not as fun as going out and scouting and finding those spots that get you all jacked up. It's not even as fun as writing your goals. This is the nitty-gritty work. This is the details, and the details kill. If you perfect your equipment, then you're going to up your chances on getting that buck this year, and you're going to get you're going to be focused on what you need to be focused on, not on all this other stuff. So I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Instagram at the Mobile Hunters Dojo. In fact, if you disagree, there'll be a post that advertises this. Go on there and share your piece. Let's have a conversation about, gear, what's important, what you think is important, what you don't think is important. I really don't believe that I'm the end all be all, or that my opinion really even is, it really carries a whole lot of weight. But this is what I'm seeing and hearing from these guys who get it done on a regular basis. And I have incorporated this in my life. And I will tell you, I went from struggling, focusing on all the gadgets and all that kind of stuff, to then doing exactly what I'm saying to you guys right now. And my success rate went up exponentially. So I want to thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I want to thank you so much for listening to this series. I really, when I get feedback from you guys, it really gets me jacked up. My passion is helping people reach their fullest potential and to develop, and that's including myself. And it's been really a blast these last 3 months doing this. And I really want to be able to serve you well. So if you have any suggestions, even around this series or the podcast in general, please hit me up on Instagram and drop me a DM, or on Facebook. And I will respond. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys. And we will see you back next Thursday with a whitetail master. And until then, keep practicing and refining your skills, man. Have a good one.